The short answer is yes, you can in fact use Kingdom Hearts 3 as your entry point into this series overall. The long answer is going to take a bit of explaining, but first I have a question. What does Kingdom Hearts 3 have in common with Linux? Ponder that question, I promise we'll get back to it in a moment. I can think of a couple of reasons why you might want to use the third, or more accurately, the 12th entry in order to introduce yourself to this world and this lore and this story. Maybe Kingdom Hearts 3 is cheaper than the HD collection on your platform of choice and at the time of your consideration. Maybe you're just enthralled by the graphics that are powered by Unreal Engine 4, and I would have to agree with you on that. You look at any game that's made in Unreal Engine 4 and you'll notice that sparkly particle effects, of which Kingdom Hearts has a lot, are particularly beautiful when they're rendered out. Or perhaps you saw the recent announcement of Kingdom Hearts 4 and you know that with this being the most recent mainline title, it probably has the most in common with Kingdom Hearts 4 in terms of graphics and gameplay. Whatever your reasoning, I have to assure you once again that you should not be afraid to get into Kingdom Hearts using Kingdom Hearts 3 as your jumping off point. Now, I probably don't have to explain to you what Kingdom Hearts is, but I do have to reiterate, or at least I feel like I must reiterate, that although there's a 3 on the moniker for this game, it's actually the 12th entry in the series. And I say that because you would think that would complicate things quite a bit, but in my opinion, it really doesn't. Now, let's return to the question from before. What does Kingdom Hearts 3 have to do in common with Linux? An operating system with a less than 2.5% market share, and that's barely known outside of enthusiasts. The answer is very simple. It's that they're not that complicated, despite what others may tell you. All you have to do is really pay attention and you should be able to navigate pretty easily. Now, Kingdom Hearts 3 is definitely far more popular than any particular distribution of Linux. It sold 5 million copies on console alone in 2019, making it the 8th best-selling game of that year. Being a super casual fan of this series myself, and having just completed Kingdom Hearts 3 as well as the Remind Story DLC, making my way through the data battles in the Limit Cut episode in order to fight the true final boss, I think, or at least I hope, that I can add a new perspective to this topic. So what I want to do is go a little bit off script so I can give you my experience with the Kingdom Hearts series as a whole and how I found my way through Kingdom Hearts 3 narratively, gameplay wise, and things like that. So hey, come here real quick. You've been watching this video quite a while, so you must be enjoying it, right? Well, if so, why not leave a like on it? Let other people find this video and let them enjoy it as well. And then you can go into the comments section and talk about how much you enjoyed it together. And while you're down there, why don't you subscribe to the channel as well? You know you want to. Let's start with the games that I've played. I've played actually every single game in the series. I've played Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, every game except for Melody of Memory and Union Cross. But out of those games that I've played, I've only completed 4 of those games, of which Kingdom Hearts 3 is one of them. The other 3 are Birth by Sleep, 358 Days, and Recoded. So kind of smaller titles outside of like Birth by Sleep, which is probably one of the most major spin-off games in this series. I played these games on Proud mode, and I know that's a point of contention for longtime fans. They say the series gets easier as time goes on. Even on Proud and Critical, they find it pretty easy, and I'm not gonna lie, I did find it not difficult to get through. It's still challenging to a certain extent, but I kind of agree with the people who say that the franchise is easier than it used to be. I didn't really have any issue getting through this game on Proud mode, and I really didn't have an issue getting through Birth by Sleep on Critical mode. There are definitely challenging aspects, and I mean, it's not like I didn't die, but for the most part, I really had fun with it. Unlike Kingdom Hearts 1, which I played on Proud mode, which is the reason I haven't completed that game yet. And as I made my way through the narrative of Kingdom Hearts 3, there wasn't really anything that I was unable to understand outside of some really small lore bits. But if I'm being honest, from my perspective, the most lore heavy bits seem to be relegated to the last act of the game. And Kingdom Hearts 3 is actually very good at explaining important plot aspects right as it becomes relevant to the story. Not to mention the fact that this game has its own narrative to tell, and a fairly simple one at that. You see, Sora has recently had his power significantly weakened, and he has to go to various Disney worlds in order to restore said power. He needs that in order to rescue a lost Keyblade master named Aqua, who is very important to the final battle between the light and the darkness. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that the other games don't have good solid context that will add to the narrative of this game. This is the culmination and the finale of a long-running arc. But what I'm saying is that that lack of context wasn't really enough to hamper my experience with making it through the narrative of this game. I don't want to make it seem like I'm speaking definitively on this topic because frankly it's impossible to. This is my subjective opinion and you have your own subjective opinion. I know a lot of fans were disappointed with this as a conclusion to the narrative, but I thoroughly enjoyed my time making it through the story of this game. And yeah, there's this weird aspect because I do have more knowledge than a beginner, but I have far less knowledge than somebody who's seriously into this franchise. So I'm in this weird middle ground gray area when it comes to what I can understand. Yeah, I did enjoy the story. I enjoyed Remind, and I am enjoying myself playing the data battles in Limit Cut episode, despite the fact that they're so frustrating. Fuck Luxord. It could be the fact that the games that I have played have provided me with just enough context in order to not be confused at the narrative of Kingdom Hearts 3. But like I said, all the lore heavy bits, the stuff that requires you to have played other games, are mainly relegated to the last section of the game, at which point you've probably been told multiple times enough context in order to figure out what the fuck is going on. I kind of think of Kingdom Hearts the way I think about Fate, in the sense that you can get into the series through any particular entry, use that as your foundation, and then build out your understanding of the series from there. All of this is my opinion though, so let me know yours in the comment section down below, and let me know also, are you a fan of Kingdom Hearts, and if so, how hardcore are you? All answers down below, and I will see you in the next one. I'm out.
I'm your biggest fan. In fact, I've been playing your game for months now, and I've already gotten you all the way up to level 47.